It's Filter Free Friday, y'all, and I'm glad y'all here. Just a word to the wise, this session is going to be about politics, and I don't typically talk about politics because I ain't going back and forth with y'all. I ain't going back and forth with you. So if you don't want to hear about politics, just keep on going. But I want you to know that last night I watched the Dem Debates, and quite frankly, my filter doesn't really have a hole in it this Friday because my filter ran out on Tuesday and I already did my work. So a couple things I want to talk about related to the Dem Debates. Number one, if we don't get it together, we are not going to shift the vitriol that we currently have in the White House. Immigration reform. Let's talk about that one. So this whole idea of the model citizen, we've got to ditch this idea, y'all. Y'all got to stop clapping for this foolishness when someone says my dad was poor and then I am now here running for the United States of America. It feeds into this concept of this that some countries are shithole countries and that certain people are shithole people and they don't get to have this kind of right and authority. And listen, I'm not talking about folks who we're trying to characterize as criminals. I am talking about people who might be teachers or nurse practitioners or firefighters or police officers or me. uh, just because somebody happens to be an average old Joe doesn't mean that they don't have all rights and privileges to try to be citizens of our country. And so we have to be careful of some of these narratives. Don't y'all clap for that foolishness. Don't clap for that. The second thing I want to talk about is funding things like healthcare and higher education for all. I think some of y'all, I'm an engineer by degree. Some of y'all don't kind of understand, and I'm not saying this to be disrespectful, but some of y'all don't really understand the math around what the 1/10 of 1% are making out here in these streets. If we talk about the 1%, that's, I think a family making $500,000, $500,000. And I don't want to talk about that like it's peanuts, but y'all might know somebody who makes that kind of money because it's honestly very attainable. But when you start talking about 1/10 of we're talking about like $35 million. And then when you go move that decimal one more place, you're talking about people who making $150 million. I've been on here talking, I don't know, 2.5 minutes or so. And I can't do math like that fast in my head. But that's the equivalent of somebody making $200,000-$300,000 in the amount of time that I have been on here talking. When we are talking about taxing those people, and it's probably less than 100 people in the whole nation, when we're talking about taxing those people so that we can pay for everybody to be able to have health care, I need y'all to stop being up in arms. Listen, what's the difference between making $100 billion and $200 billion from a practical standpoint? What can't you buy at $100 billion that you can buy at $200 billion. Folks out here acting like Jay-Z so rich, like he could have bought an NFL team. Jay-Z barely on the billionaire list with his $1 billion. Jay-Z would have to make 100 times the money he's making in order to be in that 0.001% of wealthiest Americans. Y'all, I need you to understand that we have to tax those people in order to be able to take care of the other 99.999% of folks. The last thing that I'm going to talk about, y'all, is executive presence. If you are looking at those debates with your eyes and not with any other information that you're bringing in from outside, some of the people who are at the front of these debates shouldn't be at the front of these debates. Executive presence and gravitas matters. And don't even tell me, well, look at Donald Trump. Don't compare nobody to that man. Don't compare anyone to that man. That is not the standard by which we should be choosing the president of the United States of these here Americas. I spend most of my time talking to organizations about who you put at the top of organizations, at the top of teams, at the top of groups, because who they are from a character standpoint, a presence standpoint, and appearance standpoint matters. It filters through the whole team and is going to impact your outcomes. We are reaping the results of that right now. We're reaping the results of that right now. So I know some of y'all Bernie supporters, but y'all gonna have to tell that man to stop screaming. He ain't never gonna be president of the United States screaming like that. Now, finally, let's talk about these AR-15s. If you're going to buy something that's going to put a hole in the size of somebody, in the side of somebody that's the size of a doggone apple or a peach or an orange, you should have to go through, I'm not even talking about universal background checks. You should have to go through checks like they go through in Japan, where it take you 2 years to get a weapon, period. The least we can do, if you're going to have a military style assault rifle, that it should take you 2 years to get one. What you need one right away for? Who you trying to blow holes in? We have got, I ain't trying to take nobody's gun, but it should be harder to get one of those guns than it was for me to get my puppy. And right now it's not. Listen, y'all, it's Filter Free Friday, and we got work to do.